Once again, it's a beautiful Saturday morning, and this is Joy 99.7 FM. This is Home Affairs. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. Once again, sitting in for Edem Naite, your regular host. But absolutely happy to be here. Let me apologize for the delay in starting this morning. But we're here now and we're ready to roll. Remember, we're live and interactive on Facebook and all of our social media pages, so you can tune in there, send in your commentary, your questions. Once again, you're warmly welcome. This is Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. And the rest of the world. And this morning, we're having a conversation about our school system. The increasing indiscipline in our schools today. We're asking the question, is it a parenting gap or is it the school system? I'm sure that a lot of things have changed since the many years that you and I were in school. But this morning, I'm super excited to have two very seasoned guests who are going to help us to dissect the topic. Joining us, not for the first time or the second, on this program or other programs, is Mr. Emmanuel Afful. He's an educationist and a parent. And also Sefam Lord Mensa, who is also an educationist and a parent. Good morning and welcome.
Anymore.
Thank you so much for being here.
Nice to
I apologize once again for keeping you waiting. Totally my fault. But it's interesting, this topic, right? I mean, when we were younger, which was many years ago, school was a safe place, right? I don't know if you felt that. Did you feel that way when you were growing up, that school was a safe place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was much safer than we have now.
Yeah.
But I think that if we really have to be honest, it has come as a result. These changes have come as a result of changes in whatever. I mean, you can call it modernization and whatever. I mean, remember, some of us, when we were in school, there was nothing like social media. These things were not there. Yeah. I'm talking about primary, secondary school. Yeah. So obviously, urbanization, modernization will come with all these challenges. So, but comparatively, schools were much safer then than now, I should say.
You would say. Sefam, how about you?
I think nothing has changed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Just that the population increase and talking about needs, our needs evolving is as a result of all these things that we are having issues coming up. Indiscipline issues have been existing in our schools for as long as I can remember. But just that now it is being put out there as a result of social media. We are getting involved in other things more than we used to. So it's coming to the forefront as if it is now coming up. It's been there for as long as I can remember. Probably in different forms. But indiscipline in our schools, it's not a new thing.
I mean, we were always indisciplined, right? As children, you have your life in your head, and you have your life that you're able to express out. Do you find that before we get into the schools and the parenting, do you find that children are more able to live out what they are thinking, say what they are thinking, and so maybe that is coming across as indiscipline? Because I'm sure when you and I were growing up, you cannot look at your headmaster, you cannot look at your teacher. There are just some things you can't say. There's a side of yourself that you don't bring to school. Are children much more comfortable bringing themselves in that way? And doesn't mean that, like you said, maybe nothing has changed. It's just that children are able to express themselves better.
So when you and I were growing up, being assertive was classified as rude.
Yeah.
So when you have something to say, your opinion to share, you would have to think twice when adults are even together, you have no space in their gathering. But now we are teaching our learners or our children to be positively assertive. And of course, some of these children might carry it overboard. And in that space of expressing their views, their opinion, and how they feel, they might come out wrongly. And depending on where they find themselves, we can term their behavior as untoward, like is unheard of. And depending on where they also find themselves, it can be appreciated that this child is actually speaking their mind for you, the parents or the teacher or the guardian, to know how to help or support that child to come up to be somebody worthwhile in the society.
Yeah.
So yes, it could be as a result of, because when you get a Ghanaian child traveling abroad or an African child traveling abroad, should I, for better want of the word, timid. They are laid back, not being able to express themselves. But now and then you tend that when it comes to the theory aspects, they are able to deliver. But when it comes to practical or linking what the theory to practical, they are found wanting. So we are changing the way we teach them. We are changing the way they have to reason, so that when they go out there, they can fit in. Not because our system is no good, but it is how they are being nurtured. That is how come they come up in that manner. So yes, assertiveness or teaching them to be positively assertive could be some of the things that probably might be contributing to some of these issues.
Right. Emmanuel, did you want to?
Yes, I mean, I think that the concept of assertiveness is a positive one. I am one teacher who has always asserted that, look, students must be allowed to speak their minds, even to the extent that they should be able to politely tell teachers in their faces when they're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
I'm on record to have said that, look, I'm much closer to the girls than the boys in my school, and there's a reason. We live in a society where girls have always been marginalized. I mean, if you had a regular home with a boy and a girl, both of them are in the same school, and for one reason or the other, one of them has to drop out of school, it's definitely the girl.
Yeah.
So I've championed, even though I'm not out there as someone who is doing
advocate,
that,
yeah.
but I know how to talk to my girls. And I've actually told them that, look, if you have a teacher behaving in a way that is unspeakable, slap the teacher in the face. You don't even have to have. I mean, you are a teacher holding a file. You meet a female student. You cannot use the file to touch maybe any part of it.
Apart from the butt.
The butt.
Yes, yeah,
You
yeah,
deserve a
It's
slap.
very, you do.
And so,
Very
if
inappropriate,
there's
yeah.
anything to say about sexual, I think I'm one person who championed that. But unfortunately, the advocacy for students being assertive has not been matched with responsibility. Now we have a situation where students do not know where to end. But that's not what assertiveness is. Assertiveness is standing up for your right and speaking in a way that communicates your values. So I'm all for that. The reason I'm saying this now is that when we were in school, we never heard about gun violence, at least not in Ghana.
No.
But now, what are the students talking about? They are talking about their parents' wealth. Quite recently, we've heard that someone has been shot. We never heard this. And so this is the basis upon which I say now schools are not safe.
Yeah.
Because people who have been, and I say this in a very gingerly way, people who have, for one reason or the other, failed to achieve their dreams have found themselves in their classroom. There's no monitoring, there's no training. Once you can speak English and you can teach A or B, they say you are a teacher. And so we have actually opened up the space for a lot of people to enter the profession without necessarily making sure there's a commensurate training for them.
Yeah.
Think about it. Every profession has a training regime that you go through. They have certificates. When it comes to teachers, once you are not able to become a medical doctor or the engineer, and you can express yourself in a particular topic, you are hired. And so it has come with challenges. I say assertiveness is good, but let's draw the line.
Positive, assertive.
Like there are so many different ways the conversation could go
Yeah.
from here because of the points you've raised. I mean, there's obviously the teacher training and the what it takes to become a teacher, which is a big thing, which is a big conversation. I mean, there's also the boundaries, the cultural boundaries that we face when it comes to our schools and stuff. But you were talking about gun violence, and it's funny because yesterday Asarabia sent me, some stories about gun violence and stuff I hadn't been following. And I mean, when she said, oh, there's this story about, I was like, where, how, when, like, what are you talking about? It's such a foreign concept to hear that in schools, children are like, what is this? It's not something that's new. The question is, I mean, really, it's what is responsible? I think I really like what exactly is responsible for children. It's not us. This is not a Ghanaian thing.
It is not.
It's not. So where is this coming from?
Okay, so let me try and be very careful here because of where I find myself. But before then, what I say here, I want to issue what I'll call a disclaimer.
Issue, feel free.
So what I say is not something that is actually encapsulated in any book or document.
Okay.
It is actually what I have gleaned from 30 years of being in the classroom.
Okay.
Animwaa, the media. When we were growing up, the Osofidazes, the TV theaters, we never saw some of these things.
Yeah.
Now telenovelas, what are we seeing?
Yeah.
What kind of movies are we showing to our children? And I agree totally with you when you say gun violence is a totally different, it's unthinkable. But now it has happened. Because what are the children watching? Mom is working. I mean, I would say the vicissitudes of the times actually allow mom to go to work, dad to go to work. When we were younger, mom was usually at home.
At home, yes.
And so there was that enforcement
in your
of
business and shouting
exactly.
and asking, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Now we all want to live in Kumasi, we all want to live in Accra, we all want to live in Tema. We all are encouraging our wives and our women to work. And we are neglecting the child. We are leaving the child in the care of the teacher. In fact, statistics have proven that children spend more time with their teachers than even currently
their
parents. And so what is the teacher teaching your child? I think that we need to be very careful about these things and mold behaviors. And I say it starts from the teacher.
Really?
I think so. I'm a teacher, so it's not as if I'm actually trying to expose. It starts from the teacher because you see, I'm a teacher and a very proud one at that. Anyway, you don't cross the line. You come and find me, share meals with my students, share jokes. I come with them consistently to the studio. But you don't cross the line. Because I think that I model a behavior. If a student is not seeing his or a teacher as a father or the mother, there's a disconnect. And so I think that when something goes wrong, I call her and say, look, what you did, could you do that to mommy? Could you do? If the answer is no, then I'm not going to take it. And usually, it is what they see you act and do and say that models their behavior.
Doesn't that place too much of a responsibility on teachers? Because you're almost asking teachers to be like parents.
Are you not a parent as a teacher?
I mean, you're a parent to your child, but must you be a parent to the 30 or 35-year-old students? I mean, that's a lot of emotional responsibility.
Yes.
Anyway, and that is why we come back to a training regime for a teacher. When you go to, and I'm not saying that everybody who has gone to the College of Education is a better teacher. Okay. These things are taught there. For every subject, there is a pedagogical aspect of the subject, and there's a methodological aspect of the subject. Then there's a psychological aspect of it, because they know you are going to handle students. I say, in all the 38 training colleges, it used to be 38, I don't know whether now it has increased. There are departments which are called special education departments, which handle teachers on those things. In fact, around Achimota, there's a special needs school there. I have schoolmates with whom I completed the university. They are there. They are doing some excellent work. For some reason, when you go to the secondary school, you don't find these teachers there. Because we have deprived those areas of the basic necessities of life. So if I go and study special education at the university, for me to be posted to a particular school to practice what I have learned, because the society over there is deprived of these things, I'll stay in Accra. And I'll find myself teaching a subject. This is one of the issues. So I'm saying that, and I'm happy now we are talking about a holistic evaluation of our teaching system. We need to deal with it anymore. I say is a teacher because it is the first thing to ensure discipline. Of course, parents have a role to play. the school itself has a role to play, and the students themselves have roles to play. But I'm saying that if the teacher models a good behavior, chances are these things will not happen.
Right. Okay. Sefam, you.
Yes, I'm happy Emmanuel ended by saying parents, the school, then the teachers. So this tells you that when it comes to discipline issues or educating the child, it is not the work of one person. So it's a multifaceted area for which every stakeholder within that space needs to contribute towards the discipline of the child. So I take the parent or the baby or the child from the house, I take the home as a nursery. Then the child moves from the nursery to the main soil. When you uproot that, what do you call it? The plant, that baby plant from the pot, and bring it to the land, the space is wider.
Yeah.
So as you water, that plant begins to spread its roots
Yeah.
Okay.
and comes out, flourishes well. So if what is put in the child is not well vested and you begin to water, what comes out? So when the child comes out of the nursery, the home, to the school, then the teachers begin to water that child. So that is where we say that the teacher is also responsible. So what is in that teacher? Your professional aspect, your personal goals, and the school system or the environment that the teacher finds him or herself. You are adding all these things and as water pouring it on that child. So if your professional status as a teacher is questionable, meaning that certain behavior or attitudes that you are going to water that child is going to affect that child's development. It's a connection. When the child leaves the house and comes to school, the parent cannot say that now you are in school, so I do not care. So the parent needs to be connected to the school. When the child is in school and the teacher and the administration or the management of the school do not have a communication or nothing, there's no link, then what is the teacher doing? When the teacher is teaching, disciplining the child, is management observing, giving that teacher the support the teacher requires to be able to do the needful? So if that connection is not there, then I'm sorry, we'll be having issues. So there should be consistency in every aspect. As you move from the house, you come to the school, the teacher is also watching you. You go back from the school, back to the house, to the community. What role are we all playing? That tells you that when it comes to the discipline of the child, it is not the work of one person to handle. Gone were the days when we were growing up. You dare not even misbehave. That the moment you know that this person is a teacher from a different school, you are called that person the needed respect.
Yeah.
Because you know, oh, teacher, you are afraid of something. But now what happens? Oh, he or she is not my teacher. He or she is not my parent. He or she is not my pastor. So I can decide to do whatever I want to do in their presence, thinking that there will be no consequences for what? My action. But when there's a support system or there's something telling you that you are accountable for your actions and the consequences would follow, and irrespective of wherever you find yourself, somebody will hold you accountable. You are mindful of whatever you do wherever you are. So you might be a teacher in one school, you might be a student in school B, but the moment you move out, that thing at the back of your mind keeps pricking you that, hey, a student or a child is always a child, or behave in a manner that wherever I find myself, I can't do things saying that, okay, my teacher is not here or my parent is not here. Are we holding people accountable for their actions and the consequences following? Are the teachers being empowered enough or supported to make sure that whatever they are doing is to the betterment of that child? My colleague mentioned that how can a teacher in a school, an example, using a file to hit the butt of a student?
Yeah.
What is going through your mind? What are you thinking about? Why would you even pick a phone, WhatsApp a student with derogatory statements or ask the student to send you a picture? Do you think when that student enters your classroom, he or she is going to respect you?
No, of course.
Because you have crossed the line with that student. And another thing too, I think I'll have to mention here is that, you see, for the GES, something is happening. Now the schools are being asked to come up with their SIP, something we call school improvement plans.
Okay.
And when you are putting up this one, you are not being benchmarked with another school, but you are being benchmarked with your own school. Come up with your strength, your weaknesses, and how you think when you are supported, you'll be able to do this work.
Okay.
Then we found out that about 60 to 70% of most of the public schools, especially in category C schools, live with people that are not their biological parents. So
Wow.
when that happens and something happens in school and you invite them to come forward,
They don't come.
they don't come.
Yeah.
15% of those children, cursory observation, of course, because it's not proven, live by themselves. And the girls are living with boys they call their boyfriends.
Yeah.
And the boys are living by themselves. They do menial jobs before coming to school.
Wow.
So they take care of their own resources. And such a child or a student entering your class, having issues, and you want to relate with somebody that lives by himself as a child, do you think he's going to respond?
No.
No. You need to sit down with the person and do a tete-a-tete and find out how you can help that particular child. Because he's a child in age, but in mind and in responsibility, he
Adult,
is an
yeah.
adult. So if you use one jacket-fit-all disciplinary mechanism to meet that child, it will backfire.
That's tough. That's tough. That's crazy, actually. That's crazy.
I agree. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you think about it that way, you would think we cannot achieve or attain anything. I say, I'm a tax-paying Ghanaian. I work with multimedia. Because I cannot teach my child, I've enrolled my child in a school. It is the duty. I'm not checking my responsibility. No. I've given you a 13, 14, 15-year-old child. He or she has come to school. You are a teacher in the school. There's a headmaster or head teacher or principal in the school. There are teachers in the school. That's your job. If there's something that is going wrong, I need to be in the know. And then we fashion out how we can deal with it. You understand me? You would not expect me to leave my place of work, come to the school and discipline my child. Else, who are you? What are you doing there? And my colleague teachers, I'm sharing this. Sometimes it also has to do with what you say about these children. You are writing a report for a child who obviously hasn't done well. Must you say blockheaded? Must you say you are good for nothing? These things we find
Oh, wow.
in comment. I'm telling you. Are you talking about the learning challenges or are you talking about a person?
Personality.
So these students discuss the teachers and what they think about them.
And then they label them.
That's it.
And then it's like, I guess they categorize them and say, okay, these ones are not this, these ones are not this, and these ones are not.
And I've said this several times. In my school, I mean DPS International, I've said this, that while a lot of my colleagues prefer what we call, you see, we separate students according to ability. I have always been against that. Some educators have said it's a great thing to do, but personally, I don't subscribe to that. Why? Because if you are telling me I'm a struggling student, I will forever remain struggling.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. So we need to look at any point in time. We look at the kind of students we have, and we fashion out strategies to teach them. The most important thing is the children must know why they are in school, and I dare say that when you engage students, you always know what they want. It is not difficult training students, because the fact that a child is in school puts some responsibility on the child.
Yeah.
All you have to do as a teacher is to model a behavior. Of course, there are some one or two students who fall, but that's why there are measures to take care of those things. But if we check our responsibilities as a school, I'm talking about teachers, principals, and everybody, then we are failing.
Right. So what I want to do is we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, what I want to do is I want us to have a conversation and clearly, as possible, as much as possible, outline what is the responsibility of parents and what is the responsibility of the school, because from the conversation and from the way things look, it looks as if maybe parents are, I don't want to blame parents, but sometimes it looks like, parents are letting it go a little bit because of the demands of life and work. And you find that, the kids close from school, and then even when they come home, they're being babysat by the TV or by social media, and then your parents come home around 6, 7, they are tired, and then it's 2 minutes of conversation. And then also, even if that is how life is, what can parents do to support their children? Because I think at the end of the day, as much as teachers would be appreciated, when your child works out, or if your child doesn't work out, the blame primarily falls right back on the parents.
Yes,
it's like
course.
Especially the mothers. Like you didn't do, you didn't do. It's very rare to hear a report and say a father, or even a report and say, "Oh, the school has spoiled my child." The school has spoiled my child. Most of the time, it's the mother's fault. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, just in case you're a parent, if you're a new parent and you don't know what your responsibilities are, apart from, the feeding and all of that, we'll be having a conversation, and then we'll, try to bridge the gap between what parents should be doing what. Another thing, Emmanuel, if you can start to think about this for me, is I really want us to also define the indiscipline that we're talking about, because different cultures raise their children differently. I may be deciding that this is the vision I want for my child, so this is how I'm raising them. To you, that may be indiscipline, or to Sepham, it may look like something else. But how do we have a general definition of what is indiscipline, and then how we can make things better generally? So once again, this is Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're having a conversation about your children and mine, and the indiscipline in our schools, our failures as parents, and how the school system can also support us to raise amazing Ghanaians. So don't go anywhere.
Hello, Ohima. Eti saying,
Ayo,
na edahin.
me kwatade.
Dear Bensa.
Krachi, obesuja na so behwemkwem.
Na se jane de wo so aye den kwane de wo hwem kakra.
Anyway, me kope vitamin B de adwodwoma ko.
What a coincidence. Me say no na me koto, no na me no.
Hey bra, wait dear wo boa.
Oh, ahon fe minti mi ntwa wontro.
Se wara.
Vitamilk no, emu de he pa na we ni je ho.
Me pe Vitamilk banana any choco because I'm black and proud.
Hey, interesting. Me de me a regular guy oh. So wow.
When you kapao.
So wow. I can see we have something in common. Ohima, yanko try a Vitamilk connection. Would you bo me kana metia? And you be a se kwan down.
Kwan be.
Na muni brebi. Vitamilk di foforo bia be kambusua ne ho your friend of Vitamilk strawberry. Vitamilk feels good anywhere anytime. This advert is FDA approved.
LPG. I am from a jar and hotse. Nanso se and hubetia mawa, I just would dear did you may. And son, I will be so ujano. Here, Nasha said from a jahon can be ara and j ho. Se would say in from a jahon pampana, bue apunone and pomanu yina, a banesa, man saw ana me numbri biara edi in yinama who day a year juma. Dundum a jabiara was so ho. Nafre onim di four mano meshe mount. Fasamina in suyogu in from a jaton true one ano. Se a natural say a tue ampa. Tai say, Robina a train from a janu hun tue. Nata is and Robino acha precon in Fiemi Nubiara echi. Shase a bribiara ube sojano, ube power matches and son I was so stove. Shase and from a janu who saw diano edum, a bribiara won't fendi jumebiara. In Kratoi, a free National Petroleum Authority, I swear.
Hello, I am Teacher Jane. Are you Eric's mom?
Yes.
Well, today in class, he kept challenging me about a certain point for more than 5 minutes.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry, Mommy. I love his confidence. Our world needs more people who can speak up. So well done.
Oh, thank you. Confident, curious kids will change our world. Nido is specially formulated with iron, vitamin C, and A. Nido, your love, their future. This advert is FDA approved.
there's going to come a time that the church will rise as the highest of all the mountains, and saviors will be raised in the church to deal with the world system. And let it be now. We need to have a national focus. We don't have to lose this ambition, or else we work against the Great Commission.
They are equipped in righteousness, the agenda to possess the nations. Welcome to an equipping center of the word and prayer on Pentecost Hour.
Pentecost Hour comes to you on Joy 99.7 FM every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Hits FM on Mondays at 5:30 a.m. and Joy Prime TV on Saturdays at 7 a.m.
Welcome back. This is Home Affairs, and it's brought to you by Vitamilk, indeed a nutritious beverage that feels good anywhere, anytime. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. If you're just joining us, we're having a conversation about the increasing indiscipline in our schools. And we're asking if it's, a parenting issue or the school system. Some people have already started texting and saying it's because of free SHS. This is us. Everything is politics. I mean, okay, your mic
the
was
numbers.
because of the
yes.
numbers.
So you cannot discount it.
You can't discount it. But we're not doing politics this morning.
Not
Let's
at all.
leave that for the Super Morning Show. So let me tell you a little bit about Vitamilk. So the joy of every parent is to see their children grow healthily and become more intelligent and physically fit. To achieve this, every parent needs to ensure that their children are given nutritious food that has the essential nutrients which can promote their well-being. One of the best of such nutritious foods is Vitamilk soy milk drink. For over 20 years in Ghana, Vitamilk still remains the number one in quality, in taste, in nutritional benefits, and in reliability amongst most preferred beverages in Ghana. Choose Vitamilk Champ for your children because the protein, calcium, and omega-3, 6, and 9 in Vitamilk Champ has proven to help your adorable children grow smarter, healthier, and strong every day. Vitamilk also comes in its regular soy milk drink. There is Vitamilk Choco Banana Strawberry in 250 ml and Vitamilk 1 liter Tetra Pak. Vitamilk is indeed a nutritious beverage that feels good anywhere, anytime. So Africa's Model Scouts is back. The search for that one diamond to take the opportunity to propel onto the world stage. Africa's Model Scouts starts from the 12th of April, 7 p.m. Don't miss out. Now, are you ready to drive innovation and take the next step in your career? Apply for Ashesi University's master's programs, which combine world-class education with African relevance. Regardless of your career aspirations, an Ashesi's master's program equips you with the skills, ethics, and networks to lead boldly. Applications are open for our 2025 cohorts. Learn more at ashesi.edu.gh. Have you listened to Pentecost Hour yet? Well, if you haven't, it's a religious broadcast program that's sponsored by the Church of Pentecost, and it comes your way with the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, on Joy 99.7 FM. at 1:30 p.m. every Sunday. Tune in on Sundays at 1:30 p.m. as Apostle Nyamiche brings you life-transforming truth that nourishes the soul, ignites passion, and restores hope in the nations. The Church of Pentecost, we are possessing the nations for the Lord. All right, then once again, you're warmly welcome if you're just joining us. This is Joy 99.7 FM, and this is Home Affairs. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and I have Sefam and Emmanuel with me in the studio. And this morning, we're talking about increasing indiscipline, the increasing indiscipline in our schools today, whether it's a parenting gap or if it's an issue of our school system. So welcome back, Emmanuel and Sefam.
Thank you.
So before the break, I was saying that I really wanted us to define three things: the parenting role, the teacher's role, and the indiscipline. But I'd like us to start with the parenting role. So let me start with you, Sefam. When a child presents to the school, what are you expecting that the foundations, what foundations are you expecting that the parents would have built in them so that the teachers can build upon to make their lives better?
So let me start this. When a parent goes to look for a school for the award, they look at certain things they want that child to acquire by the time that child is done with it. So they consider the values or the vision and mission of the school, go around and the tone of the school, the caliber of teachers that are in the school, and then what the school stands for. Because you might be coming from a Christian home and you don't want to just go and dump your child in a certain environment that by the time the child comes back to you, the child is professing something different. So you expect that child to have that continuity of what you believe in and what you aspire that child to become at the end of his or her educational tenure. So you get to, I'm saying this because I remember when we relocated from Adenta to West Hills area, there was a school that everybody was speaking well of. So we went there for a visit. It was off-school season. There were no teachers in the school, but the head of school was around. We visited, and then the first thing we entered, the office was a mess. It was a mess. I stood there quietly, then I told my husband, can we take a walk? Let me just go and check the washrooms and other things. Just within 10 minutes, and after interacting with her, I told my husband, no, we can't be here. I agree. It might have certain things there, but first and foremost, what I witnessed, no way. I don't want the children to be here. We went to another school. The tone of the school, in as much as the students were not in school, the teachers were not there. The place was spotless. Then went round again, went online, went to their website, met one or two people. I'm not saying everything is good with the school, but at least
there was
order. So you at the back of your mind, you have certain values that you want your child to acquire by taking that child to that particular school. So if you enter the space and you don't feel like these things are there, don't force yourself because it's a popular school, everybody is sending their award there, they have this and they have that. What exactly do you want your child to acquire or gain from entering into that space? Is there any continuity? As a parent, what do you want? The socioeconomic issues we are facing now is not going to change. Mothers will continue to work because you want to add some value to the life of your children. You don't want your girl child to see you as you are every time you are in the house. There's nothing to you. So you are bringing something on board. So when you are not in the house, have you put certain things in place? For example, about the movies that our telenovela that the children are watching. Have you parents controlled your gadgets in the house? You might not be at home, but there are certain measures you can put in place that child that is 13 years will not have access to 15 years movie or 18 years movie in the house. It is done. Technology can assist you. When your child is turning 13, Google sends you a message to inform you that your child will very soon turn 13. Do you still want to manage his or her account, or you want the child to take over? The same message is sent to the child. Then the child will decide that in as much as I'm 13 years, I want my parent to still manage my email account for me. So there are certain things you can put in place. But you see, parents are always not in the house. So for you to have this, okay, I'm a good parent, so you let certain things go. You don't want your child to be using gadgets after 9 o'clock. But because you are always not in the house, the child cries a bit, then you allow it. So you allow the child to have his or her way.
We are tired.
Because you are tired. Thinking that when the child leaves your space and go to the school, the teacher will work on the child. No, that is why I keep saying that this discipline issue is the work of all of us. Parents are playing a role, the teachers are playing a role, and the school system is also playing a role. So if the child does something in school and you are invited, oh, your child came to school, his or her behavior, what happened? What time did he sleep? Okay, when he comes to school, maybe he's not having enough sleep at home. So can you make sure that when it's time, maybe 7 or 8, that child retires to bed so that we can check, is he having enough sleep? Okay, now he's having enough sleep, but still the problem is there. Then let's go. What food is he eating? Then let's check his menu. What is he consuming? Then you check. Send the child to the hospital. Maybe there's something going on with the child that you have no idea. Yeah. Let's cover all the grounds. And possibly if there should be a visit to the guidance and counseling unit for a psychologist or something to talk to the child, that space is also taken care of. Because there are issues that sometimes is a neurological issue with the child. And that child is exhibiting it through acting out. Yeah. And you might think the child is indisciplined. But for all you know, there are underlying conditions that you as a parent or you the teacher, you have no idea about.
But are there not always underlying issues when it comes to indiscipline, regardless?
Yes.
Whether it's psychological, emotional, it's not just...
So let me there's something I saw, is that there's a strong correlation between discipline challenges with absent parent or lack of parenting.
Okay.
So if that absent parenting style is not there, that child has got issues with what? Discipline. Because there's nothing for him or her to model. What life are you leading? What expectations have you given to the child so that he or she looks up to those things and work towards? There's nothing. So if that gap is there and you think that, okay, I am not available, I am not vested in the child's life, so let me carry the child to school, and automatically the school will do miracles with the child. The child will leave the school and come back to that space. What is there to support the child?
Yeah, I get that.
So it's a hand go, hand come. We are connected. You can't break one and leave the other one.
Emmanuel, I want to ask. So there's a certain sort of love. This might be a bit off, but there's a certain sort of love that we us, this generation, have for our children. That our parents had for us but did not express in a certain way. So I remember when I was growing up, I went to the UK for the first time around 17, 18, and I saw the level of affection that mothers and fathers had for their children, the I love yous, the holding of the hands, the cuddles, the conversations about everything and all of that. And my parents were very present and I was very loved, but not like that. And I find that we are doing that more with our children. We're much more
involved.
We're actually doing it more.
Yes, we're much more, so I would expect that our children would be better, because their emotional, that deep-seated need for belonging and love perhaps is being met more in this time
generation than
it was. Is that the reason why some sections of our society or some of our children are more grounded and more forward thinking and not as inclined to misbehave or disappoint their children or their parents on one side. And is that possibly also the same reason why there's perhaps a lot more indiscipline? I think the question I'm trying to ask is, can love make this better? Can, when it comes to the indiscipline, the gun violence, the children misbehaving, being in wrong relationships, is it something that love can solve?
I wish I was professional enough to handle this, but let me be honest with you. This love you talk about has one definition: caring and showing concern for the child, right? If you want the truth, we're overdoing it. I have been.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
Anymore. Look, you can argue out and say that, well, there is every need for my child to have a phone at 12, at 13, at 11. But I ask you, what is he using the phone for? No parent has been able to answer that question to me. That in our school we say we have a zero tolerance for phone, no matter the reason. Because once you say, for this reason you can bring your phone, everybody will give you a reason why you need
bring a phone.
You know, the point I'm making is that what I have come to realize, sometimes some of us parents do it as a show off. The friend's daughter is using iPhone 13. The child has come complaining, 16. So you also have to get him 16.
No, we're not talking about phones. We're talking about love.
No, I'm coming. But when you buy an iPhone 16 for a child,
it's
it's not love.
Show of love.
It's not your show of
I mean,
affection and love.
So I get what you say when you said we are overdoing, because then that's, yeah.
True. When our parents were doing it when we were younger, there were parameters that they set. They showed their affection in a way.
Tough love.
That's how you call it, eh?
Tough love.
Tough love.
When we were going to school, you were told clearly that you are going to school for your own future. How many of us parents today have had that conversation with our children that this school education I'm giving you is because of your future? We are not even there in the first place.
Oh, you think we are not telling our children that?
Anymore, I'm only telling you the reality on the ground. You may be doing it.
No, I mean, this is a general.
If, and I don't want to mention it because I don't want to make it personal. If a student who is now in the university sends you a WhatsApp video to me and says, you are like the father I never had, even though I had a biological father, what does that tell you?
Dad was missing in action.
So, we're not saying don't show love. I'm saying that let's create parameters. Look, I think that it is not difficult training children in schools. And I say this not because I think I know everything. No, it's practice. I've practicalized it. Anymore, every school has rules and regulations. Every school has values. Every school has its culture. What is wrong in Ghana is wrong in China.
Yeah.
As far as schooling is concerned, as far as discipline is concerned. And once you're talking about discipline, you told me to define this indiscipline.
Yes, please.
The word discipline, from my own definition, means to conform to acceptable behavior. That's one of the definitions of discipline. To conform to acceptable behavior. The IN that you prefix the word discipline with means not. So if you are indisciplined, it means that you are not conforming to an acceptable behavior. What is the acceptable behavior we are talking about?
That's what I was going to ask.
If the school has not set up a system where anybody who falls in follows the rules, what are we doing? That is why some of us had an issue. And I'm making the personal. I had an issue as a teacher. I had an issue with everybody, and that's my opinion, who thought that the recent issue about Chimota School is allowing a student with, while I understand that the hair has nothing to do with education, that is their standard of enforcing their discipline. You don't use the law to force the school to take the students in. Again, I'm saying that I know that hairstyle doesn't have anything to do with education. But there's something to say about uniformity and following the rules. That is why we are all under the Constitution. You understand me? So, if a school says, you just said a couple of minutes ago that you want a gay haze something in your daughter, there's something you found there which you think will help your child. I'm saying that every school should create a system where students can follow. While you are teaching them to be assertive, they should follow that particular code.
And then you as a parent find a school that suits the values or the dreams that you have for your child. That's what you're saying.
That's it.
You abide.
I mean, there are different schools. I mean,
different school with different,
when you go to some schools, clearly you see the vision, the mission statement, the vision and everything. You read, you understand. If your child gets in, the child is not comfortable, you can always talk. I'm saying that training a child is not so difficult, because normally when the system is in place, every child will toe the line. Those who fall out, they are whipped into line. I don't mean physically whipped, but I don't see why it will be a problem for me to call Animwaa and say, oh, this is what I suspect happening to this your boy or this your girl. Can we have a conversation about it? As a teacher, there were times, nowadays I've decided, because of modernization and everything, I've decided to stay. I basically, I'm sorry, it's morning radio. I basically knew most of the menstrual cycles of most of the students I taught. Because the conversation was such that, look, I am your parent outside your home. If I'm teaching and you don't get it, I should be able to tell from your facial expression. When teachers are teaching, they are not thinking about something else.
No.
When the student is following the lesson, you know.
Yeah, you know.
You understand me? And so if something is not going right, you have that conversation with the student, you inform the parent. If someone says, oh, my dad always says what you are saying, the student will never go astray. Because he's heard it from the father, he's heard it from you. It must be right. But it all starts from modeling a behavior anymore. And students have their place. We'll come to them, what they have to do. Parents have them. But I'm saying that once the school setup is a conducive environment to nurture souls, everything will fall in place.
I don't think that we have a lot of schools that are set up to nurture souls. Because
we do.
Anyway, I use the word.
We do.
We do. I use the word vicissitudes of time. I mean, because of things that are happening now, you have people who are not cut, excuse the use of, to teach, being in the classroom teaching. And some of these things happen, and because there are no consequences, they go on like that, unfortunately. But ideally, the school should be as safe as a chapel. Because the people who are there have only one responsibility, to nurture the child. That's all. Anyway, that's all. But what do we find today? Today, parents are taking money from, they are doing everything possible to send their children to international schools. Because our regular schools have failed us. Either through politics, or through religion, or through whatever. We have failed the system. So look at our leaders. And I'm not going to issue any disclaimer here. Go to the Parliament House. Go to wherever. And ask yourself, how many MPs, how many ministers have their children in our regular schools?
When you say regular schools, what do you mean?
Our local secondary schools.
Public schools.
How many of them? If you're able to answer, so there was a time I came to Joy FM, we were talking about free SHS, and then when the students were facing a lot of issues with food and everything, in this very studio, I said that if we want to change the system, let's get Parliament to make a law
The MPs
which will
send their
force,
children.
you can Google it, you'll find it, which will force any government appointee,
to have their children.
whoever takes a salary from the consolidated fund, if our taxes are paying you, and for example, you are an appointee of President Mahama or former President Akufo-Addo, and you want to serve this country, you say you are coming to serve. Let your children go to our regular public schools.
They should also go to the polyclinics and the regular hospitals.
Recently, we heard someone saying that MPs should have. Look at that. We are in this country. We didn't say anything. We are not angry about those things, but that's how it starts.
People were angry.
I'm quite emotional with this when it comes to children, because we are quick to blame the child instead of blaming those into whose hands we've entrusted these children. Children normally are respectful. Normally. Children normally will respond to positive stimuli. So when you do the right thing, they'll model that behavior after you. When they go off track, there are codes and conducts that they need to follow. There's a particular school I love. It's not my school. I'll tell you, I won't mention the name. When you go to that school,
I mean, you can.
in terms of appearance, they've modeled a figure there. It's like a statue. I think it's made of cardboard or something. So there's a girl who is wearing uniform, the way the hair should look, the way the entire uniform should look. So if you come there, you've seen it. If your child is coming there, the child is not looking like this, we are not going to accept that. You can propound all the theories. This is our school. This is what we want. So I think that we need to come to terms with those things, that if parents want a good education is always premised on discipline. That's a fact. Fortunately, some of us have parents who are so understanding and amenable to the fact that if the teacher does this, I should consider it not being in excess. Why would I hate a student for what?
Yeah.
So it's a broad conversation that we need to take our time and really, but I still say it starts with the teacher. There are children who have left class 4 or class 5 10, 15 years ago. They still mention the name of their teacher. Why?
There's no doubt about that.
Exactly the point. So I'm saying that when we model these behaviors generally through what we call in-service training sessions and all these motivational talks to teachers, I think things will pick up. Children normally are not supposed to be deviant.
So let's actually talk about the deviant children now. The gun wielding, bullying, killing of fellow students and all of that. I mean, I still can't wrap my head around it. Where is it coming from? And what do we do? I mean, is it not... Do we need to have metal detectors in place now? Are we going to have to start scanning our kids when they are coming into... where do we even start from to tackle issues like that?
Anyway, let me start by saying this. I guess I need to be very careful. I need to say this in Twi. You think you are the best parent.
Yeah.
So that's there. I was a housemaster at Mornington International High School from 2010 to 2016.
I went to Mornington.
So that was the cantonment one.
That was in the 80s.
Cantonment one. Well, we started an international high school. It's now at Dodoa.
Okay.
When we were starting the school, I was the housemaster, the founding housemaster. One of the things we did, it was a completely boarding school. One of the things we did was that anytime you came from home, we would conduct a search.
Yes,
before you even
search, inspect everything.
Search everything.
I think most schools do.
Yeah.
So how does the gun find its way to the school? Day schools. That's one. Right. 2, one president sometimes said that there was a need for us to build community schools. And there's something to say about community schools. When you live at Adoso, for example, your enclave should have a secondary school. The community, everybody knows where you come from, everybody knows your behavior.
Your mother, your father,
Everybody
your
knows.
grandmother,
That
your
in itself is a check on behavior. But we've actually we've centralized our system to the extent that all the good schools are in Accra and Kumasi.
And
So
Cape
everybody
Coast,
wants to
and
live
Cape
in Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Cape
and
Coast.
Cape Coast, please.
And so it has now resulted in situations where students are cheating. Parents are buying questions. All these things are part of indiscipline. Now you can just imagine, if you are buying questions for your child to pass an exam, and the child becomes a medical doctor, because you know what the society is getting into now. And so it's a multifaceted issue that we cannot just say this or that. As for the issues about gun violence and all these things, telenovela, social media, you can never discount it anymore. You
Video
can't
games,
discount it.
I mean.
And I still am waiting for parents who will convince me as to why the 13-year-old needs a phone at school.
At school?
Yes. Recently, there was a discussion about allowing SHS students come to school with phones. I don't know whether you remember.
It's something that has been being discussed by.
For what?
It's not fruitful. It has never happened. And even the tablets are not in school, so how much more allowing them to come to school with phones?
With phones. With
3 or 4 weeks
phones
ago.
or with Android phones.
Smartphones.
That was the conversation.
I think if it was like the Yam phone.
What do you need it for?
What do you need it for?
I don't know. Maybe accessibility to your parents.
Every
security.
school some time back had Vodafone payphones.
Yeah, I remember. With
They
the
were in
long
charge.
line.
They were in the care of housemasters. So what are we talking about here? What I thought that the child need a phone for that he cannot do. So we need to get these things right. That look, there are pleasures in life. Yes, everybody wants the best for their children, but there are certain things that
Right
this
things
is
at the
no.
right things at the right time.
No anymore. And I still maintain that if we motivate our teachers well, and by motivation I don't mean
cash,
salary alone. Sometimes the working environment alone, the clear guidelines, the code of conduct, everything will be fine. Once teachers get that right, it will trickle down.
The support.
It will trickle down anymore.
So, Fam, did you want to add something?
So I guess Emmanuel has summed everything up. But I'm still stressing that when it comes to disciplining a child or a child staying in line, it is the work of all stakeholders involved. So it can't be left at the doorstep of one person to handle, because if one person is handling it, there might be certain aspects of it that he or she might not know anything about it. Schools, we should also strengthen our guidance and counseling units. Not just posting any teacher. Mind you, all teachers are counselors by default. Because as you are teaching, like Emmanuel mentioned, you are not just teaching. Even before you start teaching, your learner enters your class, her demeanor or his demeanor, their behavior, their sitting posture, something, you know the child so well that you can tell something is up with him or her. So teachers being counselors by default should be empowered that the moment they detect something in class, they intervene by sending the child to the right space, knowing that the child will receive the needed support that he or she requires. And then please, our social systems, we have a gender and social whatever, but what is there for the schools to assess? Ideally, every school should have a psychologist, or as a parent with a struggling child, you should send that child to the hospital, public hospital, or have that service so that that child can, or that parent can assess that and help the learner or the child. But we don't have these things in our system. But we have gender and social protection or whatever. What facilities are there that we parents or the school can actually have access to support?
Not interrupting, but you're talking about some of these things. So there's a rise, or maybe there's more awareness of I don't know what the blanket name for it is, but a lot more children are showing up with ADHD, with autism, with dyslexia, with a lot of learning, and
deficit,
all of those things. Are we equipped in our schools to be able to identify that?
So we are not. But one interesting thing that I want to point to you as a parent is that when you start going during the pregnancy, you are given a small book. In that book, they have indicated the developmental levels through pregnancy, 3 months, 6 months, 9, giving birth, 0 to 3 months, what the child should do, how the child should behave. All these things are in the book. I don't know of, but I have a book. Those things are in it.
But some of the conditions
a minute. So
diagnose.
being a responsible parent, taking the child for weighing, checking on that child, you would notice something about that child that quickly you have to refer. But you see, most of these things, we end up at the church. I am not saying going to church is bad. Please, I was brought up in a Christian home. But you find something about your child. Your child is not giving you eye contact. Your child is not smiling when he or she is supposed to smile. There might be delay in development. Have you sent the child to the right place for the right diagnosis or the right examination to be done, we sit idle. We don't follow through these things. You are saying is on the rise because now lots of parents are being aware of these things and they are taking notice of it and even acting before the schools get to act. We don't have those things. He mentioned that teachers that have received special education training don't end up in the public schools because the system do not support them to deliver what they have been trained on. So they end up in private or international schools and they are offering their services. But ideally, in a school that we are practicing inclusive education, meaning that learners with partial challenges are entering into the regular schools, we should have teachers with these technical know-how being in the school to support the regular teachers as well. But what do we find? We don't have those things. In the classroom, a teacher did social studies, MS in accounting, in geography, in history, teaching. In as much as the teacher is a default counselor, is he or she endowed with the technical know-how how to support a learner with learning challenges? No. There's a student in our school, I won't mention the school, exhibiting these behaviors, and one teacher knew nothing about it, just screaming at the child. And the more you scream and tell the child is withdrawing. And the parents also knowing nothing kept sending the child to the pastor. They are preaching, screaming on him, and the child is having issues and exhibiting. He doesn't want that. But because the parent is not endowed on, knows nothing about it, and the teacher also knows nothing about it, we are not helping the student. So that the student ends up every time roaming in the school. When you are every 15 minutes, he gets up to roam. Because whatever you are teaching is boring to him or her. He can't have within 20 minutes, he's done. He wants to go and roam. Yeah. He wants to enter another class to enjoy something from another teacher. So it's about time that we parent. I think it was on this same platform that I mentioned that responsible parenting starts from taking the seed, or even before you take the seed. What you practice on the child, what you consume, what you expose yourself to, mind you, is having an impact on that seed in your stomach. And when that child comes out, what you expose yourself or what you expose the child to also plays a major role in the development of that child. Yeah. So if you are a responsible parent, it starts from there. Then getting that history and relaying that history to the school, especially if your child is going to the boarding house. Some of the boarding house, you are asked to come with a medical report of that child. But some parents, funny enough, will hold some of the information from the school, thinking that, no, I don't want the school to know. How would the school support your child if they don't know about the history, what the school needs to know about your child? So you see, this is where it comes from. Parents giving or feeding the school the needed information, the school using that information to nurture the child as in what he or she needs at the right time. It can't be left untreated. It can't be left in the space. There should be that connection.
Okay, Emmanuel, just 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean, so while I agree largely with Sefam on this point about responsible parenting, some of the issues actually happen in the course of the child's education, not at birth. That's why I say that. If I teach English and literature, and I know how every student is supposed to react or behave in class, if I pick up the signs, and I was sharing a story with her, how I suspected dyslexia, and I referred the parent to a counselor, and it turned out to be true. Every child is supposed to respond to a certain way, in a particular way. So if one particular child is not working at the level, it triggers something. You should be the first to tell the parent professionally that
there's something.
This is what I'm seeing. Can we check it out? Because I say, as a teacher, you are working. The parent is also working. Maybe in a bank. Should I now come and tell them my child has this? You are teaching my child math. He's not getting it. Can we do some diagnosis? And then let me know what I can do as a parent. So it's a three-way thing.
Is there a particular reason why children don't get maths? Like this is the second example of maths you've
I
given.
think that it's the pedagogy, how it is delivered.
Yeah.
Me myself, I've hated math from it's because of what my teacher said to me.
Right.
So I think it's basically about how it is taught.
Yeah.
About how
It's
taught.
how
And
it is taught.
traditionally, a lot of people think that, hey, math, they're thing.
It's difficult.
And
It's-
some teachers have this penchant of making themselves appear fearful. I don't know whether you've noticed that. Yeah, maybe them some they're thing. We fail it.
Yes, the drama.
Then you are not a professional teacher. Come on.
Thank you guys so much for being here, Emmanuel Afo and Sefam. Sefam, thank you so much. Thank you for being here this morning and early and on time, unlike some other people. But thank you so much for your patience, and thank you to you for staying tuned in. This has been Home Affairs. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. Before I go, though, just a gentle reminder that Vitamilk is your go-to for everything nutritious that feels good anywhere, anytime. There's Vitamilk Choco, Banana, Strawberry. Comes in different sizes. Has omega-3, 6, and 9, calcium, and other essential nutrients and multivitamins that are recommended for healthy living. Home Affairs is brought to us by Vitamilk. Vitamilk, a nutritious beverage that feels good anywhere, anytime. A very big thank you once again for staying tuned in. Coming up next is the Weekend City Show. My name's Animwaa Anim-Addo. I'll be back again next week. I'm still sitting in for Edem Night Tape. But have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And a very big thank you to our guests, our producers, Crispy on the ones and twos, Osofo producer, as I like to call him. Kojo, thank you so much. Asarabia, thank you, everyone, for making this happen. And like I said, have a wonderful weekend and stay safe out there.
To the shop.